Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to another edition of International Forum. I am Wilson Omasha. Today, it is all about what is happening globally, because right now the president of Ukraine is complaining that the ISRAEL-HAMAS war is a huge distraction from what is really happening within his domain. Yes. And don't forget, also in the U.S., the House immediately signed into law a bill dishing out some good, huge sums of money to support Israel in the war against Hamas. And of course, the Ukrainian budget was left unattended to. That didn't go down too well with Joe Biden, but still the House, being one of these, they passed out of Israel for out of Ukraine. They just kept it there somehow. And right now, just one attack, Russia has sacked 118 outposts in Ukraine. You can call them hamlets, call them villages, and the Ukrainians, they are complaining bitterly about what is happening globally. They're shifting their attention from them to what is going on in the Middle East. The big question now is the war against Hamas. Is it a huge distraction for the Russian-Ukraine war? What about the war at large? Is it a huge distraction? Before going to that, let's pick a story or two from one of the stories making rounds globally. Let's move straight down to what is going on in New York, where Donald Trump has been called upon to defend himself against allegation of fraud leveled against his empire. And for the umpteenth time, Donald Trump had this heated argument with a judge, telling him that, look, all these allegations are not true. All these allegations are dumbfounded. All these allegations doesn't hold water. It was word for word. It was tit for tat. You know, Trump's behavior, and of course, his outburst, they really gave the judge, the jury, any opportunity. Now look at what he wrote. They said, no, I'm not here to hear what President Trump had to say. Just like, hey, Judge, this is me, Trump, former U.S. president. It was like, and he doesn't go down too well with his conscience. He speaks out. Whether in terms or out of terms, he just get to let them know that really what they're doing to him right now, a year or less to the election, is not what they should be doing to him. For him, this is just witch hunt. This is just witch hunt. Don't forget that his two sons were on trial last week. They said their parts, and right now, the Big Daddy Trump is the one called upon to defend the allegation of fraud leveled against him. Let's see how all this will pan out, because the case is still very much on. Quickly, let's take a look at what is happening between Australia and China. For the first time in 2016, Australian Prime Minister, yes, Albanese Harris, paid a visit to China. And of course, Chinese envoy also, they've made this visit also to Australia. Don't forget the sanction leveled against Australia by China by banning importation from Australia, beef, wine, which is their major export, and their biggest partner is China. You know, the rubble, and of course this disagreement over the South China Sea and the Pacific is like Australian citizens have been boxed into a corner for this man to go pay a visit to Xi Jinping for the first time in 7 years. That is what we are talking about: business, about, you know, partnership, about economy. It's like right now, from what pundits are saying, it's like China really got Australia by the balls. They have to wriggle out of it one way or the other. They have to, Joe, rather than war. Right now, they are partners in business, and definitely things that are going smoothly. Don't forget that agreement will be reached to see what will happen in that particular region. Some are calling this guy a coward, but he knew what they stand to lose if they don't go out there to, you know, stretch a hand of fellowship to China. And of course, Xi said, look, we're your big brother. We're ready to do business with you. We're ready to make sure that Australia and China relationship grows stronger and stronger by the day. Just paint this picture. What do you think U.S. will feel about this? What do you think our pro-Western allies will feel about this move by Australia? Do they have a choice? For as it stands right now, they don't have any choice other than to do what the Prime Minister Albanese Hales did to bring China's presence into Australia for business to boom. Finally, on the news around the world, let's take a look at what is happening when Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, went to Japan. Yes, because right now we're having this talk about the G7, and they are going to measure this talk in areas around what is going on between Ukraine-Russia war, most especially what is happening right now between Hamas and Israel. Though Blinken tried to play it down that everything is just under control because they made it clear that it's about of Israel's action against Hamas, not Israel's action against civilians. They'll do everything possible to make sure that there is a pause, so to speak. When I mean pause, I mean ceasefire, so that humanitarian aid can get to the civilians are being affected by the war, because many people are saying that Hamas are cowards in the sense that if you're the one that attacked Israel, why would you use women, children as a shield? Come out and fight. Because that is the key point right now of Israel. You caused the war. You came after us on 7th of October. You break our defenses, so to speak, because we are celebrating one of our festivals. You came in there. After doing the dastardly act, you now ran off using hospitals, using marketplaces, using men, old men, women, and children as human shield. Why not come out and face us? And of course, Hamas, really, they're really using children, women as shield. But Israel is going a little bit above board. Come on, lots of kids have lost their life in this rampage. Something definitely needs to be done about this to at least ameliorate the plight of the innocent persons in the Gaza Strip. Let's see how this G7 will definitely bring the outburst or the outrage of war between Ukraine, Russia, and Israel-Hamas to at least the barest minimum. We'll go on a break. When we return, I'm going to introduce my guests, and we tee off with a topic for today. The Israel-Hamas war is a huge distraction towards Ukraine-Russian war, as opined by President Zelensky. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, and we are taking a look at Israel-Hamas war, a major distraction to the Russian-Ukraine war. Because if we go into what happened in the House of Representatives when the budget was being passed, there was nothing allotted or allocated for the war between Russia and Ukraine, at least to support Ukraine. But Biden gave the assurance that the U.S. will not abandon Ukraine, and that was a promise he made. All of a sudden, there was this war between Hamas and Israel. The House of Representatives didn't waste time. They immediately budgeted enough amount, millions of dollars, to aid Israel in the war against Hamas, without talking about that of Ukraine trying to defend their territorial integrity against Russian invasion. And President Volodymyr Zelensky cried out saying, this is truly a distraction. As it stands right now, the offensive is suffering a serious setback. Russia, they've gained an upper hand in so many areas, sacking over 118 communities or outposts in Ukraine, just with a single attack. That hasn't happened for a long, long time. With me here in the studio, I have a clergyman, a political analyst, political affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Reverend Humphrey Ariga. Reverend, welcome to International Forum. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All
Good
right.
afternoon, everyone.
So very close to him, a legal practitioner, political analyst. Join me to welcome Barrister Ehigiato Gabriel. Welcome to International Forum.
Thank you, Missy. Good afternoon, Nigerians.
All right. Thank you so much for coming, gentlemen. Let me start off with you, Reverend. What Zelensky said, is there an iota of truth in it? Take a look at the way the U.S. is handling the Israel-Hamas war. Compare it to what is happening between Ukraine and Russia right now since the advent of the war. He said, look, you people are giving more attention to Israel. You're leaving us here with this giant in our territory. What do you think led to this? Or are you saying that maybe they're just like, over-exaggerating, or is not true to the fact to what President Zelensky said? Take it up from there, Reverend.
Thank you very much. There's truth, there's an element of truth in what he has said. And it wasn't something that was new to us in the news, because the House of the Congress, the lower house, is towing the line of former President of America, who is, in his words, have done a lot of things with Israel. I have no grudge about that. He has, as far as he was concerned, he had a lot of interest in what should be happen in Israel. That when he moved their embassy to Tel Aviv, these are some of the issues. The president also is not too comfortable with the fact that the US or others, as far as they're concerned, are fighting Putin in that war. He's a friend of the Russian president. So anything, and he has said that before, that he didn't see reason why America should get involved.
You're talking about former President Donald Trump
Yes,
right now?
Donald Trump. I said he doesn't see reason why America should get involved, because Putin has established the fact that they were all part of the great Soviet Union. And as far as he's concerned, Russia has, Putin has come to say, look, we need to reclaim back our territories. And so as his friend, he has a lot of goodwill towards the Russian president as against the Ukrainian president. So I'm not surprised that the lower house, which is controlled by Republicans, are doing what they are doing, because they see it as part of what they, the Republicans, believe in. Well, it's a sad story. It's a sad commentary, because human beings are human beings everywhere. Yeah. Ukraine is an independent nation, even though it was part of Soviet Union. That's history. But when you begin to see people, because of your economic gain, which is Donald Trump's philosophy of life, everywhere he has been, it's his economic gain that is paramount to him. And he doesn't see what Ukrainian president can give to him. There's no business he can do in Ukraine. But he has a lot of business to do in Russia and the Russian Federation. So it isn't because of the people. It's because of his personal interests. And the Republicans, unfortunately, have continued to play a role of hold brief for Donald Trump. Whatever he says, and because most of those in the House are members of his own Republican clique, because there are two Republican parties we have in America, the moderate and the also Donald Trump. Unfortunately, these are the ones in Congress. So it is not surprising that this is what is happening. But let's see what happens in Senate.
All right. Let's see what happened in Senate. I'll come back to you on that. Well, Barrister Gilbert, do you share his views and opinions? Because now Zelensky is crying. For the very first time in a long time, Russia sacked over 118 outposts just with one attack.
Well, in as much as I don't want to toe the line that Reverend is towing, I want to look at it from an holistic view. Over time, historically, America, the US, and Israel have a serious economic relationship. Israel happened to be the biggest trading partner of the America, worth over $50 billion US annually, bilaterally. So I think Israel has so much, has so much captured the heart of the American government. So America cannot actually just leave Israel for any other person. It's a fight to finish. It's a kind of a core covenant they have together. So I'm not surprised if America is actually, putting up this fight are supporting Israel. Yes, just as you said, it's unfortunate that it is painful, it's sardonic, that there's no fulfillment to the promise that was earlier made to the Ukraine. And this war seems to be a very big distraction, to America from giving attention to the Ukraine government. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. Yeah, I understand the fact that, of course, you also have some level of political undertone, and you got to the support coming from the US, but let's look at it from the view of everybody, the general view of the citizens. I don't think that an American, an average citizen of America today, would be surprised that America is supporting Israel. Because they've only been 5 and 6, so to speak. So, to me, I think that is what everybody needs to accept, because it is reality on ground. And when you look at the history, before now, the Israelis are being in control of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. We make up the Palestinian state and all of that. I think from 1948, the Israelis were they were in charge until the 7 days or 6 days war of 1967. Where Israel fully take over the control from Jordan and Egypt. So naturally, it is almost like an Islamic war. It's almost like a form of a jihad, rather. And there's this Islamic concept that the Hamas have, conquering territories, taking over territories, and trying to, to capture more grounds in order to, nationalize them and what have you. So, to me, it's a very serious war that Israel cannot actually look aside. They must put in their strength, and they must put in all that is within them. And of course, their friends, which is the number one friend they have now, is the US. Must support them. So nobody can actually take that away. But be that as it may be, I think when you look at it holistically, it's a war to finish.
War to finish. Now, from what you said, what Donald Trump did while he was the president of the U.S., moving the capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and also made it clear to the world that no one will ever take the place of Israel from the heart of America. But Joe Biden is not happy with the outcome of events in the Congress, because he was pushing also for the budget to support Ukraine. But that was jettisoned. Now, despite his threat, despite his anger, the House did what it did. What do you think is behind that action?
Yeah.
Is Ukraine less important than Israel in this whole thing?
Like I expressed to you, it is the foundation of a man's heart that postulates his actions. The Republican, if you look at the vote, it's a Republican vote in the House. It's not Democratic votes. The Democrats didn't support it. See, the point is, it's not because America cannot support both wars. They can support both wars. But like I said, it's the overbearing influence of Donald Trump on his Republican cohorts that is happening now.
But he's no longer the president.
He's no longer president, but he has grip over members of Republicans in the House. You can see from the ouster of the former speaker through the new speaker that is around. And look, the new speaker that is there was one of those who denied the election result. So it is not something that is happening by imagination. It's a script that is written. I'm pro-Israel for any reason. America cannot, because American technology and scientific creations are developed by Israelis. Israelis is part and parcel of the American growth. So there's nothing you can do about that. Period. But if you have decided for democratic principles of the world, Ukraine is a democratic country of its own. When it's tried to be annihilated by a more superior power, there's need for collaboration to survive. And that America has postulated over the period, which Donald Trump did not subscribe to, which has also influenced the Republican. That's what I'm talking about. If it was neutral, if it was something that the whole Americans, by their own thought, have supported Ukraine. American citizens have supported Ukraine's survival. So when when the budgets are being drawn, and you are removing one for the other, not because you can't fund the two, it shows the partiality that is there. But I think the Europeans should also wake up now to take more responsibilities to help Ukraine to survive, because the death of Ukraine is also a blow to Europe, which also becomes inimical to countries like Georgia and others who are also at the brink of being annihilated by Putin. Okay. So it is not just Ukraine now I've said it over. It is a fight against democracy and its principles of living.
Is it a fight against democracy or a fight against Putin and his belief?
No, Putin is fighting Ukraine, first of all, because they removed the president who was pro-Russia. Elected a more pro-Western president. And that's his grounds. Two is the fact that during this, when it was Soviet Union, part of the armories are part of the energy deposits were in Ukraine. Okay. So as far as it's concerned, he needs those things back, because Ukraine has gone too pro-Western, which to him is an affront.
All right. Well, we will come back to you, Barrister. He used the word there is partiality in all of this. After all, putting one into budget and jettisoning the other one, despite the fact that Joe Biden said he's going to use the executive order, the Congress didn't even listen to what the president is saying. They did what they did. We'll be right back for you to throw more light on that to see if the U.S. has been partial in all of this. After all, it's good for the goose, it's good for the ganja. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for staying to this channel. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. Partiality in the Congress. That's what Reverend opined. That if you take a look at it, somehow there's some sort of partiality, because the budget sort of is favoring Israeli other than at least balancing it with that of Ukraine, which was thrown out of the window by Congress. Did you say partiality in all of this?
Well, we cannot remove interest from policy making, because politics is the essence of which those men are in the Congress. What brought them into power is the essence of politics, and we can't eliminate that at all. We can, just as we said earlier, the way, although it is painful that the promises that was made to the Ukrainian government has not fulfilled. And of course, Joe Biden is not happy about it at all. Joe Biden feel attack. He feel that the House of Commons is being occupied by a majority of the Republican representatives. They are trying to frustrate his government. But on and on, they also have their own defense. That even if some person think that way, the reason why we are actually putting more strength into Israel, in support of Israel against the Hamas, is because of the relationship we have had over time. Because the relationship that the two countries have enjoyed over time. Just as I said, the technology that America used today and all of that, a large portion of it was developed by the Israelis. So they have enjoyed a very covenant relationship. And as such, we expect that they should enjoy some level of support. Even if it seems that the American government can actually support both countries at the same time. But we can't remove the fact that Israel and US are all together. And we have to accept it the way it is. But what we expect now It's another that have gone to this way. We expect that United Nations or the European nation, the European Union, which the Ukraine also benefit from, we expect them to assist Ukraine at this time. But right from the day that the war between Russia and Ukraine started, there have been little or no support from the European nations.
But on trying, they gave out jets, gave out tanks.
How can you give people jets and tanks without giving them the personnel to manage those instruments? There's no personnel to manage those armaments. They were not trained. So they're not trained. There's no military support. I mean, it's like giving a car to a man who doesn't know how to drive. And that's what is happening. So I feel pity for Ukraine, even if it seems to overturn all my analysis are being support of Ukraine. But I think it is our time that the European government, the European Union, should stand up and help Ukraine to say how to salvage the situation for the hands of Putin and his Russian government. Because the oppression is still too much. And if the Ukrainian government continues to wait for America, this is just the beginning. As I speak to you, it doesn't even look as if the Ukraine is even in the American record book, let alone attending to them. So for me, I feel that European nations should come to the aid of Ukraine, because take it or leave it, like it or not, America have already showed to us where their interest lies, and that is Israel.
All right. Now, if you take a look at what you're talking about, saying EU should come to the aid of Ukraine, some analysts have the opinion that EU cannot hold Russia without the help of the US. So how do you think this will work? Because if you take a look at the West, when the US is backing Ukraine, that's the reason they're doing what they are doing. After all, over 30% of the gas in Europe is being supplied by Russia. And we are approaching winter. How's it going to work?
You see, there's nothing that can't work. It's not because Europeans may not want to support. You see, you can also look at their economy. Everybody has to think of himself first. How do you sustain your citizens before you begin to talk about helping others? The Americans over the period has had a lot of stockpiles, has had a lot of things going for them. The economy is more robust than anything. But unfortunately, this war with Israel and Hamas has come in. You see, like you said, you make a choice on two things. Israel is too significant to America to back away from, or to reduce what. Again, you look at the hostility around Israel. Without America, Israel will be gone in 2 days. Israel is a very small nation within an enclave of Arabs. And, you know, Arabs people have a lot of money. But unfortunately, they don't have the technology. These are issues. You know, and that's what we're talking about. My own point is that every life is important. The life of the Ukrainians are as important as the life of the Israelis, because they're also going through a very severe process of annihilation. It's not the first time that the Ukrainians have suffered such like that. Russia has done it before. And they are doing it again, just like you said, because of the Russia is also being helped by Iran. It's helped by some other nations, even though it's big. And it's because he has oil, which he can exchange for this thing they're looking for. But Ukrainians do not have that, a lot luxury. You know? I just hope and I pray that the Republicans in the US will honor, at least when the president of a country makes a statement, it's not on behalf of himself, it's on behalf of the nation.
The country.
And when you can no longer honor the promise you have made, it is a nation that suffers the disgrace to say, oh, you made a statement that you cannot. And that's why the politics in the American environment of Republican versus Democrats is becoming very, very problematic for all of them. It's not even just American and Ukraine. Go and look at some of the very soon, the economy will dry up because there's no funding. They have not been able to agree on budget for the operations of American interests, it will run out this November. Republicans have not, because as far as they are concerned, Democrats must lose. See, when politics is placed above principles and interests, that's what happens.
All right.
That's where we are today. It's just politics.
All right. Can one deduce from what is happening that this is the beginning of the end of Ukraine trying to defend territorial integrity in this war, because less attention as it stands right now is given to them by the U.S. because of this Israel-Hamas war? Well, do you see Russia gaining more ground? Because in one swoop of attack, 118, that is scary. It is scary.
Well, it's painful, but that's the reality on ground. The Ukraine do not have what it takes to fight Russia. And we said it over at been issue from the beginning. And from what we are seeing, the current situation with the distraction from the ISRAEL-HAMAS war, it is very clear that Ukraine is not like a mackerel in the wilderness with no help, and that's what's going to happen. But I think that, be that as it may, the Ukrainian government have actually shown, to a large extent, fighting for what they believe, defending themselves, and defending their territorial integrity.
And right now they are losing.
And yeah, of course they are losing, but I think they will be a good loser if at all they lose. But do not know that it's not finished. It's not over yet. Let's see what will happen. Let's see if they can have other extreme support. Just imagine the kind of support Israel is getting now. Imagine Ukraine having such support. I mean, by now, maybe Russia should be talking about negotiation, talking about putting down arms, and coming to the diplomatic table in order to resolve their differences. But we are not seeing them. But I just feel that European nations need to, at this time, irrespective of whatsoever that is involved, irrespective of the kind of respect and regard. But
then opine that the economy is not that strong.
Yes.
So how are they going to support Ukraine?
Where's the economy strong? Even in Africa, is the economy strong? Russia have what it takes to bring down Ukraine. They have what it takes. I even think that the fear for Russia is because of the natural resources that Russia, have in the deposit. Russia supply, 2/3 of the oil used in European nations. So where do you expect that from? The other time Russia were saying, even at the beginning of the war, that they were going to cut down gas supply to European nations. So the European nations have a lot of respect for Russia. Nobody you can't remove that from them.
Is it respect or fear?
It can go, it can go side by side.
Okay.
They have a lot of respect, a lot of regard for Russia because of what they all benefit from Russia. So, and as such, Russia has so much power, and they have so much oil, to exchange for weapons and what have you, including all the weapons that they have that is homemade. So you can remove that. So I think that the Ukrainian government should take heart, but I think that European nations, the European Union, need to actually do something about it.
All right. You talked about the Senate. Now let me do something else. What do you think the Senate can do in this regard to prevent these impasse? Because right now Ukraine is being pummeled, just like almost as Hamas has been pummeled by Israel.
Well, the Senate is controlled by Democrats in most cases. But unfortunately, the power of the purse lies with the House of Commons. They can always make an appeal. You see, the point is that tomorrow you may hear a surprise that when there is monies approved, the president has powers to rotate some fund within the premise. But I also want to believe that Russia cannot win the war, no matter what it takes.
Cannot win, but they are winning already because
no. You see,
don't forget that Russia's aim is not to conquer Ukraine; it's to free the Donetsk region, and that's what they're doing right now.
You see, the point here is that it's not the first time they have had some gains and then they have losses. There are some of the issues. The determination of the Ukrainians have been one of the greatest force that they have. They are determined, their citizens are determined to defend. You see, sometimes war is not
sorry for cutting in.
armory.
They have determination to fight to the end. With which money?
Which money?
With which fund?
You see,
Because right now the money is not there anymore. They've been caught up in a way.
Today, the money may not be there. But tomorrow, you might be very surprised at what will happen. The European Union, America, all of them know that Ukraine is important to them. If Russia takes over Ukraine, some of the countries in Europe, the European Union, will suffer. That's the basic line. So it's not just Ukraine that you're fighting about. You are fighting against the dominance of Russia within that enclave. Like I said, they have tried to take over Georgia before. It couldn't happen. They have not stopped taking over. And that is what, because if the European Union or America refuses to help Ukraine, you know how the investment America have made in Ukraine, they have made a lot of investment, and nobody goes for investment for a loss. That's the point. So a war can be overturned in one day.
In one day?
Yes, one day. War can be overturned against an opponent. So it depends on how the game goes.
Okay. Reverend talked about the waiting game, that anything can happen tomorrow. Money will be scarce today, but tomorrow they have abundance of money. Do you see Ukraine playing the waiting game right now while Russia is advancing? What do you think will be the fate of Ukrainian armies? They are the borderline, trying to wait off the assault of almighty Russia right now without funding from the U.S.
Well, I don't think it is the sole responsibility of the U.S. to fund Ukraine. And
but someone said that the U.S. pushed them into this war.
Well, that is a part. That may not be true. That may not be true. Which war? That may not be true. You know?
Russia to war.
Yes, that may not be true.
Zelensky to war against U.S. No. War against Russia.
Listen, that is not true. That is not true.
America
did push Ukraine into war. You know, America never. But I think that it is not just the fact that matters. It is the silence of your acclaimed friends. Because European Union is claiming to be friend to Ukraine, and they are not doing anything practically about it. They will not be able to mediate tanks. They supply jets. They supply jets. What does it want to do? I wish the European Union put money together. They will not have enough funds to give to Ukraine.
No, it's country by country. European nations, some countries have supplied personnel. They have supplied training,
ammunition.
They have supplied ammunition. They do it in their own state because each of them understands the importance of that war.
Yeah. Okay. But right now, Ukraine is saying this is a major distraction because Russia is advancing. No cough, nothing from the U.S. for now. Barrister.
The U.S. have already told their lie. They've cheated their parasite and satellite away from Ukraine.
So for now, Ukraine just on your own?
Yes, Ukraine is on their own.
Wow.
Ukraine is on their own. If we still believe that America is still going to attend to Ukraine, maybe I should be working on the path of faith. But for me, from so far so good for what? Yeah, even this as much, we are also waiting for the response of the Senate, of the American government. But the way it stands, the American government should not to have any interest again in Ukraine. So they shifted that attention to Israel, where they benefit from, which is their trading partner over time. I just told you that bilateral, they get about $50 billion
in trade.
In trade from the trading relationship that they have with Israel. So what we expect that definitely they're going to support Israel. So it's just unfortunate that it happens at a time where Ukraine is also having war with Russia. And so the Ukraine have to accept it the way it is. The way it is. Yeah, I believe that, just the way Reverend said, that of course there are some political order too. But I'm looking at from the overview. If they ask you know, the House of the Senate, and the other were occupied by majority of the Democrats, as such an incident also happened. Are you sure the Democrats will actually support Ukraine against Israel? Let's also look at it from that angle. So it's not necessarily because the lower house is being occupied by majority of the Republican representative. I don't want to also believe that, even if there seems to be an iota of truth. But you know,
but that's the truth.
no. But it's our government. It's what government wants.
All right, Reverend. Now hold on. For what is they said Ukraine as it stands right now, they're on their own.
No.
So who is now with Ukraine? If they are not on their own.
See, that there is a little bit of a pullback of resources based on the exigencies of time does not mean that they have been abandoned. No. They are not abandoned. They may have, there's a gap, there's a stop gap. But
Zelensky is crying already.
Yes, he has to.
Then you guys are forgetting about us. This is a huge distraction right now, being pummeled.
Everybody talks about his own. He's crying for his own concern, for the things he does. Nobody is happy losing his citizens, even if it's one person. It's only in Africa that you may not bother. But nations are very concerned about citizens that they are talking about. And they are talking, Zelensky has to cry out. If he keeps quiet, things will just go. He has to cry out to say, look, we are still here. That cry will affect the conscience of some individuals. Okay, it could even also affect the conscience of some Republicans. To say, okay, let us, when the former speaker was removed, and part of the thing was part of the process they were doing, they agreed, both Republicans agreed that Ukraine needs the help of America. It's like an agreement. But they might be talking of, say, for the now, the exigencies of the fact that Israel is almost facing extermination. And so they need the help that they need. The kind of sophisticated weapons that Israeli needs is beyond what your Ukrainians need.
Men may differ.
No, you can
because right now they are saying that Palestinians are the ones facing extermination right now, not Israel.
No, but what's the purpose of Hamas? What's the purpose of Hezbollah? To eliminate Israel. They have said it is part of their cardinal principles. Israel must not exist. And so that's what they have been fighting on to do too. So Israel is fighting for their own survival.
And what is Ukraine doing?
That's what I'm saying. Ukraine, like you said earlier.
Yes.
Putin has not said he wants to take over Ukraine. There's a portion of it he wants to take over, which is closer because he's afraid that if Ukraine stands as it is, the European will be too close for comfort for his country. That is, so there are two different things entirely.
All right.
And these are things that we should look at.
All right.
But I will also tell you that sometimes it is not weapons that win war. It is the character and the confidence of the people that makes a difference.
If that's the case, Zelensky would have been crying because they need weapons.
Yeah, they need
weapons this time around.
Nobody said they don't need weapons.
All right. So now to call it a wrap on this show, at least what's your end point in this particular discussion? Because Zelensky is still crying. But you guys are forgetting about us. We are our own.
Becoming more philosophical.
They need weapons, seriously.
Yes. But it does as it may.
Yeah.
I know that Hamas are ready to destroy Israel, and Israel is ready. Israel knows the core principle that Hamas stands for, and they are ready to defend themselves even to the last. This is not the first time we are actually having Israel being around. Of course, Israel have been around the enemies, the foreign enemies, you know, and they are ready to fight it. But for that of Ukraine, I think that the Ukrainian government need to take a kind of a step up, and they need to, put their heads together, and the European nations, the European Union, need to actually do something.
Thank you so much, Barrister. Reverend, briefly.
Well, I will appeal to all to let human beings be a priority. Not just America, the other nations. They should rise up and defend what they believe to be the principles of humanity, instead of just align only. America is a nation. It has its own difficulties and other things.
All right,
So
all right.
we always stand together with them. We pray for them to succeed.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. America trying to settle quarrel between Israel and Hamas, and settle quarrel between Ukraine and Russia. Don't forget, have the economy also to worry about. Is it not too much for the police of the world to handle? Is Ukraine right now on their own as opined by Zelensky? What do you think would be the next step at the Senate? We're watching. We'll definitely report back to you next week, Tuesday. God willing. Bye for now.